These are two typical questions on expanding and simplifying. If I was asked to do these on an exam, I would get these answers here. Now in this clip, we're actually going to be looking at factorising, which is the opposite of expanding. So this question here, if you look carefully at it, you'll notice it's the answer here. So the answer when I factorise this must be x plus 1, x plus 3. In the same way here, you can see I've got this answer. So the answer for this when I factorise it is x plus 3, x plus 4. Now obviously you won't always have the answers on the page in front of you like I just did. We need to work out a method for factorising this. First of all, these are both quadratic equations, so we know that we're going to have two sets of brackets for them. We have an x squared here and here. That tells us we're going to have an x in each bracket, because x times x will give me the x squared. Now the number I put here multiplied by the number I put here must give me 3. So I'm going to put plus 1 here and plus 3 here, because 1 times 3 is 3. Let me now check that this all works out to give me this. Simplifying gives me x squared plus 4x plus 3, which matches what I had here. Something else to notice is that from the 3 and the 1, I got a plus 3x and a plus 1x, and they added together to give me my plus 4x, which matches this here. So notice the 1 and the 3 here multiply to give me this 3, and they add to give me this 4. I'm going to use this as a method to help me find the numbers for this one. So to find the two numbers here, I want two numbers that multiply to give me 12. There are a few possibilities. I could have 1 times 12, 2 times 6, or 3 times 4. But I want the pair that will definitely give me 7. Looking here, 1 and 12 won't give me 7, 2 and 6 won't give me 7, but 3 and 4 will. So I can put the plus 3 in here and the plus 4 in here. If I want to check my answer, I can expand these brackets. And you can see that what I get matches this. So to summarise, whenever I'm factorising this type of quadratic, I get two sets of brackets with an x in each. Then these two numbers here must multiply to give me this and add to give me this. So for this question, it's a quadratic, so we know we've got two sets of brackets, and we know we've got an x in both of them. Now we want two numbers that multiply to give us 8, so we could have 1 and 8, or 2 and 4. We want the pair that will give us 6, and that's going to be the 2 and the 4. So we've got plus 2 and plus 4. This is the fully factorised quadratic equation. Now here are 3 for you to try. Press pause and have a go at them. When you're ready for the answers, press play. Here are the answers. Now you might have noticed that in all the questions we've done so far, all the signs have been positive. What happens if we've got negatives? Well, actually, we use the same method. So we start in the same way, with two sets of brackets because it's a quadratic, with an x in each. We then want two numbers that multiply together to make minus 3. Because it's negative, that tells us one of them will be a minus. So we could have 1 and minus 3, or minus 1 and 3. Now we want the pair that will add up to give us plus 2. If I add these up, I get minus 2. If I add these up, I get plus 2. So this is the pair I'm going to use. So in the first bracket, I'm going to put the minus 1, and in the second bracket, I'm going to put the plus 3. This is the factorised version of this quadratic equation. So let's try this one now. Again, we've got two brackets, and we know we've got an x in each. We want two numbers that will multiply together to make minus 12. Remember, one of them needs to be a minus. So we could have 1 and minus 12, or minus 1 and 12, 2 and minus 6, or minus 2 and 6, 3 and minus 4, or minus 3 and 4. Now I want the pair from here that will add up to give me minus 1. A bit of common sense rules out all of these pairs and leaves me just with these. If I add these together, I get minus 1. So this is the pair I'm going to use. So in the first bracket, I'm going to put a plus 3, and in the second bracket, I have minus 4. This is the finished answer for this one. Here are some of those for you to try now. Press pause and have a go. When you're ready for the answers, press play. Here are the answers. Now this question looks similar to the ones that we've already done, but there is a slight complication with it which I'm going to show you now. It's a quadratic, so we start in the same way, two sets of brackets, and we know we've got an x in each. Now we're looking for two numbers that multiply together to give plus 8, so that could be 1 and 8, or 2 and 4. Now I want to find the pair that will give me minus 6. This pair definitely won't. If I add this pair together, I'll get plus 6, but I want minus 6. The only way I can make minus 6 using them is to make this a minus and this a minus as well. Now, does this still give me the plus 8 that I'm looking for? Well, yes, it does, because minus 2 times minus 4 is plus 8. So I've now got my pair of numbers. In the first bracket, I've got a minus 2, and in the second bracket, I've got a minus 4. Let's look at this one. Again, we've got two sets of brackets, and we have an x in each. Now we want two numbers that multiply to give us 12. So that could be 1 and 12, 2 and 6, or 3 and 4. They've got to add to give me minus 7. This won't work, and this won't work. But these two will add to give me plus 7. Remember, I want minus 7, so I'm going to make that minus and that minus as well. Now these definitely add to give me minus 7, and they definitely multiply to give me plus 12. So I've got minus 3 and minus 4. Here are some of those for you to try. Press pause and have a go. When you're ready for the answers, press play. Here are the answers. Now here's a mixture of all the different types of questions we've looked at so far for you to try. Press pause and have a go at them. When you're ready for the answers, press play. Here are the answers. Just out of interest, if you're thinking that something like this is rather a lot of work, when you get more practiced at these, you'll be able to home in on the answer without writing out all the different options. This will make it quicker for you to answer the question. Here, I'm going to show you how to solve quadratic equations where the right-hand side is equal to 0. Before we do this, I need to show you one thing. If we have two things multiplied together and the result is 0, then we know that one of the two things must be 0. So in this example, either A is equal to 0 or B is equal to 0. In algebra, you might get something like this: x minus 3, x plus 1 equals 0. This is the same situation as this because we have this multiplied by this and we get 0. So we know that either x minus 3 equals 0 or x plus 1 equals 0. We can now find two solutions to this by solving these two little linear equations. Here I would get that x is equal to 3, and here I would get that x is equal to minus 1. These would be my two solutions to this. So to apply what we've just looked at to these quadratic equations, the first thing we need to do is factorise them. So I've done this using my normal method. Now I know here that either x minus 2 equals 0 or x minus 6 equals 0, and I can solve these to get my two solutions to the quadratic equation. From this one, I get that x is 2, and from this one, I get that x is 6. In the same way here, either x minus 3 is 0 or x plus 8 is 0. I can solve this and I get that x equals 3, and solving this gives me that x equals minus 8. So these are my two solutions to this quadratic equation. Out of interest, if you want to check your answers, you can substitute 2 into this equation and you'll find that you do get 0, and you can also substitute 6 in and find again that you do get 0. And likewise, you can check 3 and minus 8 in here. Here are some questions for you to try. Press pause and have a go. When you're ready for the answers, press play. Here are the answers. Here's another one that's slightly more difficult for you to try. Remember, you can only solve a quadratic using the method we've been doing when it's equal to 0. So you need to do something to this first before you begin. Press pause and have a go. When you're ready, press play. Here are the answers. The first thing I needed to do was make this equal to 0. I did that by subtracting 5 from both sides to give me this new equation. I then factorised this in the usual way and solved my two little linear equations to get my two answers.